Hi, everybody. Welcome to Drag Racing's Golden Era. My name is Randy. I'm the editor-in-chief here, and you are watching another episode of Dry Hops. Tonight, our subject is wheel pants. As always, over in the booth, controlling our video and audio and overlays is my brother Thad, and Mike Couch has returned safely from Mozambique where he was setting up some unique sand drags. So Mike Couch, our talent coordinator and foreign bureau chief, is back in the country and being helpful again. Wheel pants. For those of you that don't know what wheel pants were this, and this, and this. Wheel pants were, they were kind of, I don't know, some guys said they were nothing but dressing, made a car look neat, made a car look unique. But like all things, once somebody has them, everybody's got to have them, and a whole bunch of people had wheel pants. The controversy surrounding wheel pants was that they made the cars aerodynamically unsafe. They caused, handling issues and accidents, and we got a bunch of people involved in our wheel pants investigation. To name a few of them, I talked to TV Tommy Ivo, I talked to Terry Capp, I talked to Jim Walther. Jim Walther tracked down Steve Gibbs down at the Gator Nationals for me yesterday and had a conversation with him about it. And he also went over and talked to Pat Dakin about it, who had him on the Dakin and Rupp car. So I sent a few text messages to Carl Olson, and he gave me his thoughts on the whole subject. And I talked with our Foreign Bureau Chief, Mike Couch, about it, and he, had his opinions about it because he was there in the starting line and witnessed some of the things that happened. So what started out as a pretty simple research project has really gotten complex and very interesting, and I've really enjoyed doing the research on wheel pants. So let's get into this. Wheel pants. So with wheel pants, there were a lot of cars in the middle and early 70s. I guess it was probably mainly the middle 70s, probably after 73, that had wheel pants on their cars. So I mean, the list is actually pretty long. It's Lisa and Rossi, Tommy Ivo, Don Garlitz, Dick LaHaie, Warren and Coburn had him on. Pat Dakin and G.L. Rupp. Danny Ungaius had him. Mike Snively and Jim Annam had him on. The California Charger, Terry Capp and the Wheeler Dealer. Craig Breedlove had him on a slingshot. The Jade Grenade, Barry Setzer. Well, Barry Setzer had him on a car that made apparently only one run. Here's a picture of that car, as a matter of fact. I don't know how many of you have ever seen this car. Anyway, Barry Setzer had him on that car. Johnny Abbott, and there's a few more on the list of people who had wheel pants on their cars. So wheel pants were popular. They made a car look unique. It was just a neat accessory to dress up the front of your car. Aerodynamically, I don't know whether anybody ever thought they really did much for the aerodynamics of the car, but you know how things happen. One guy does it, and then another guy's got to do it, and then everybody's seeing who can have the fanciest wheel pants on their car. There were also a bunch of accidents that involved cars with wheel pants. One of the most famous, of course, is TV Tommy Ivo at the Winter Nationals in Pomona. It was a spectacular crash that was captured on film, and I believe this one even made it into an issue of Hot Rod magazine. Of course, the Jade Grenade crash with Don Roberts at the helm of that car. I believe that Dick LaHaie had a pretty nasty accident with wheel pants on down at the U.S. Nationals in, I don't know if it was 74 or 75. So, wheel pants, were they the cause of the accident, or were they not the cause of the accident? Last night, TV Tommy Ivo and I had a pretty good conversation on the phone. We talked about the crash at Pomona that happened with him and his wheel pants on that car. And this is what he had to say about this. He said that, in his opinion, wheel pants had absolutely nothing to do with that crash. He had a mechanical failure, which led to the rear end being unloaded on that car, and it caused the car to flip over and have a spectacular fiery crash. He said, if you look at the picture, and I'll put the picture up right now, you can see that the wheels are perfectly straight. The front wheels are perfectly straight on that car. They're not torqued all out of position. The aerodynamics, the wind hasn't grabbed a hold of them and got them spun the wrong way. The wheels are still straight. Tommy told me that he had wheel pants on throughout a whole bunch of match racing. He said he made hundreds and hundreds of runs with wheel pants on his car, and that he never noticed anything odd handling wise, aerodynamic wise. In fact, he said that he believed having wheel pants on actually helped to keep those wheels straight when you got up to speed, and it made steering a lot easier on the car, and it made handling a lot easier on the car. So that's TV Tommy's opinion. Then I had Jim Walther track down Pat Dakin at the Gator Nationals this weekend, yesterday, as a matter of fact. I know he was busy, but thank you, Jim, for doing that for us and being a man on the spot reporter for us. And Pat Dakin, surprisingly, said exactly the same thing. Dakin and Rupp had him on the car when they ran him, and he said that he believed that the wheel pants on the front of that car actually made it easier to steer that car, and it helped to keep that car going straight down the track, and that Pat Dakin said he saw no issues with the wheel pants whatsoever, and they would have continued to run them had the NHRA not banned them. So our man on the spot reporter, Jim Walther, also tracked down Steve Gibbs. Well, he didn't have to really track him down. They were sitting together in the stands at the Gator Nationals, and Jim managed to ask Steve Gibbs about the wheel pants, told Steve that we were doing a piece on wheel pants, and what Steve had said to him was that he was not aware of any issues that were accidents that were ever caused by wheel pants or any issues with them other than the Menendez crash that happened in Gainesville at 1975, and that would have been the rocket car that crashed. So I got curious. I tracked down the video of the Menendez crash, and I'm not going to air that here because that would just be low class to do that and tasteless. I was shocked by what I saw in the video, and I talked with Mike Couch earlier today about this very subject with the Menendez crash, and he saw that same video, and he said the beginning of this video was actually his exact perspective on that crash, and if you look at it, that car takes an immediate right-hand turn like it was on a tether. I've never quite seen anything like it. So what I did was I slowed that video down. There's a section of it where the video is shot farther down the track, close to the finish line, and that just happened to be where Jim Walther and T.C. Lemons happened to be standing at the very time that this crash happened. They were standing there watching this car go by, very close to the track. And Jim thought that he and TC both thought that car left the ground when the chute came out. So I was taking a look at the video, slowed it down, and what I did was I came across a couple of frames in this video that show something really weird happening with the wheel pant. I'll call it a wheel pant on the right rear tire of this car. If you notice here in picture one, that wheel pant is flat and level. Everything looks normal. But in this next picture here, you'll see that wheel pant is actually turned up. I don't know what that signifies. I don't know if aerodynamically something happened. I don't know if that means the rear end of that car left the ground. I don't know if it means that the rear, A-arm or whatever was on there broke and caused that to happen. Because in subsequent frames after that, that wheel pant is back to straight again. So it's hard to say what happened there. But Steve Gibbs said that that was the only incident that he was aware of that was probably a direct cause of the wheel pants that were on the car, because there was a strong crosswind that day at Gainesville. And when that chute came out, and with eyewitness accounts by Jim Walther and TC, who was standing next to him, said that car left the ground, it's very possible that the wind grabbed a hold of those wheel pants and caused it to take a right-hand turn there. And I tell you, if you do come across this video, it isn't for the faint of heart, and you'll know why I choose not to air it here tonight, because it was a very tragic video, and just I hate to see things like that. And of course, Don Garlis, who is never short on giving his opinions about everything involved in drag racing, actually has a quote that I found in national article from National Dragster that said that with wheel pants on, there was no way that thing would have made a 90-degree right-hand turn because of wheel pants on there. So, opinion is up in the air as to what exactly happened down there, and it's one of those deals where we will never really know what the answer is to that. So let's move on to Terry Capp. Terry Capp just called me here not an hour ago, and he had wheel pants on the Wheeler Dealer, and surprisingly, he said exactly the same thing that Pat Dakin and Tommy Ivo said. He said that he had no handling issues with the wheel pants, and in fact, he said that when he had the wheel pants on, let's put this another way. Before he had wheel pants on, He said when you would pull the chutes, the car would wiggle a little bit. When that chute was deploying, the car would get wiggly coming through the lights, and you had to hang on to the steering wheel pretty tight to keep that car straight down the road and steer it around. But he said after he put wheel pants on, he actually loosened up his grip on the steering wheel when the chute was coming out, because the wheel pants themselves with their aerodynamics were able to keep the front wheel straight without him having to fight it. So there's another piece of testimony from a driver who was actually there, who had wheel pants on his car, and says that he didn't see any issues. Now, Dick LaHaie had the crash down at the U.S. Nationals, and he had wheel pants on that car. But whether or not wheel pants cause him to completely lose control of that car, there's another one of them that's up for debate. According to Dick LaHaie, and a direct quote from him that I saw on the NHRA's website, he felt the rear tire going down, and he said by the time he figured out what to do about it, it was too late. He was sideways and upside down and over, and he lost 3 toes in that incident, and luckily 2 of them they managed to reattach. So whether wheel pants had anything to do with that accident is really unknown also. According to Dick LaHaie, it was all about a tire going down. Don Roberts also had his crash at Epping, which was a very famous crash in the Jade Grenade. He was on a pass, the first and only pass that he ever made in the Jade Grenade, and of course his accident was so severe with the leg break that he eventually ended up having to have that leg amputated. I would like to read what he sent to me. He said, "After a great burnout, I back up and stage against Grove. At the green, I was long gone, and the Grenade was on a good pass. April 20th at New England was a cloudy, windy day. Crosswinds at about 800 feet down the track, estimated to be at about 30 to 40 miles an hour. It was a section of track that always presented problems if there was a crosswind. At about the 800-foot mark, the car moved a little, and I corrected and proceeded to the finish line. After that correction, it is my thought that another substantial crosswind hit the wheel pants and took the control of the car away from me. The back of the car came around to the right, and I was on its side instantly. The back of the car came around to the right, and it was on its side instantly. The Grenade went about another 300 to 400 feet down the track, flipping, crashing, and banging. It finally stopped against the light pole between the track and the return road. On a scale of 1 to 10, I am told by those that witnessed the accident, it was perhaps a 15, perhaps the worst accident ever at the facility. I had never driven a car with front wheel pants. I thought they looked nice, and they were a fashion statement of the time for top fuel dragsters. I had never given a thought to about what the significant crosswinds might do to a car that had front wheel pants on. Do I think front wheel pants contributed to the Jade Grenade crash? Yes, I do." And that is a direct quote from Don Roberts. 48 years later, there are some who will tell you the Grenade accident was caused by driver error. I disagree, then and now. I was well aware of the crosswinds at New England and had many runs in many different cars through those winds with no problem. Those were cars without front wheel pants. 1975 was not a good year for cars with wheel pants. I was not the only one who had problems with wheel pants. The record and history speaks for itself. And that's directly from Don Roberts. So Don Roberts and seems to conflict with what was said earlier. Now, I'm not playing a game of he said, she said here. I am just reporting what the drivers who had wheel pants on their cars had to say about it. There were some very high-profile accidents that happened in cars that had wheel pants on them. And they weren't just incidents where people got up and walked away from them. I mean, you had Dick LaHaie's crash at the U.S. Nationals where he lost toes, and it was a pretty serious crash. Then you had, of course, the Jade Grenade with Don Roberts where his leg fracture was so severe he ended up losing his leg over it. So these weren't minor incidents that happened with cars that had wheel pants on. And there were some inside the NHRA and inside the technical department that began to question if wheel pants weren't some of the cause of what was going on. I came across a quote today on the NHRA website from Carl Olson, and Carl was one of those that believed that wheel pants had probably not been the safest thing to have on cars. And so I reached out to Carl, and after reading this quote, and asked him if he stood behind what that quote was. And what he said was his personal observations, wheel pants were causing handling problems. And I give Carl credit because Carl, even during his driving career, safety was always at the front of everything that he did. Safety was the number one most important thing to him when it came to drag racing, and he carried that belief into SEMA and the NHRA with him. So I take very seriously what Carl had to say about his personal observations with handling. There was never really any consensus between the drivers and the NHRA about wheel pants and the effects that they had on aerodynamics, and were they causing accidents, were they not causing accidents. But he did say that the NHRA decided to err on the side of caution, and I totally agree with that. Steve Gibbs and Carl Olson and all the rest of the executive staff that were at the NHRA and Wally Parks, safety was always number one on everybody's mind when it came to drag racing. You didn't want to put on drag races and have people crashing and dying on a regular basis. That was not what they were trying to accomplish there. So for them to err on the side of caution, I think was absolutely the right decision. Now, you can take what the drivers had to say about the handling characteristics and the aerodynamics and all of that, and just add that to how interesting, right? It's interesting that the drivers thought it was one thing, the NHRA people thought maybe we should get rid of these. But I thought that the entire investigation of all of this was going to be simple because I was under the assumption that wheel pants were bad, wheel pants caused aerodynamic issues, and then I talked to all these drivers and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't what I thought it was going to be at all. But then after talking with Carl Olson, it kind of reassured me that, you know, sometimes you have to make a decision that might not be the most popular with the drivers, but I still believe that the NHRA made the right call because it really was an unknown whether or not these wheel pants were causing the issues or not. So that is our episode on wheel pants. And feel free in the comment section down below, you can see it right down there, to give your opinions. And I know we have a lot of drivers here on the page and in the group, and leave your opinions. Tell us what you think about wheel pants. I'm sure that there's going to be lots of you that disagree or agree with NHRA and what they did, or with the drivers, or with Carl Olson's stance. But if you do leave comments, all I do is I ask that you keep it nice. We're all friends here. We're all friends at Drag Racing's Golden Era, and let's just have a discussion. If you want to discuss wheel pants, go ahead and feel free to leave your comments.